Oyo State received certificate of return. Ondo State Governor's wife Betty Anyanwu Akeredolu challenges women on self-development. Federal government fingers powerful interest in ongoing deforestation across the country. And from the foreign scene, United Nations reaches historical deal on climate emission. Good evening to you and welcome. Thank you for joining us on the news at 7 right here on Osrc television. I am Obi Chukwemeka Oti. Beginning with politics tonight, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has issued certificate of return to elected House of Assembly members in Ondo State. The 26 lawmakers-elect were elected in the March 18 House of Assembly election. Osrc Zaid Aribisala reports that Governor Oluwarotimi Akeredolu tasked the incoming lawmakers to prioritize the progress and development of the state.
The headquarters of the Independent National Electoral Commission in Ondo State witnessed an unusual crowd as loyalists of political parties and well-wishers dressed in colorful attires gathered to show solidarity with the newly elected lawmakers in the state. The 26 elected lawmakers from the March 18 election, in line with constitutional provisions, are to receive certificate of return from the Commission. And this was carried out by the acting resident electoral commissioner, Oyikola Oyelami, who handed the certificate to the individuals.
We have enjoyed as many of you that have been given the opportunity by the electorates to represent their interests in the Ondo State House of Assembly to perform your roles.
Governor Oluwarotimi Akeredolu was represented by Special Advisor, Political and Legislative Matters, Jibayo Adeyeye, tasked the elected lawmakers to work collectively for the progress of the state.
The people of Ondo State expect you to serve them. We expect you to do your job. We expect you to work for the collective progress of our people.
Among the 26 recently elected lawmakers are 4 individuals, including current majority leader of the House, Oluwole Ogunmolasri, who were returned to serve for another 4 years.
For them to trust us again with their votes, it means a lot. And then I can assure them that I will never take this for granted.
For giving me this opportunity to serve them once again. I pray that God will continue to bless them.
Some of the new lawmakers, including 3 females who will be part of the 10th Assembly, pledged to provide quality representation to their people.
It is the first time a woman will be elected in my constituency, not even ordinary councillor. It has never happened before, so I feel so honored.
God for his wisdom, for his knowledge and understanding. I have no doubt we will succeed.
I would not for any reason take this mandate for granted. Leadership is about service, and I'm going to do my very best to render qualitative, sound service to the people of my constituency.
Put various parties together to make a synergy for development projects in Esodo.
Well-wishers and party faithful advised the lawmakers to work in harmony with other arms of government. The APC clinched 22 seats in the election, while the PDP had 4.
I advise them to work hand in hand with the executive to make sure that they lift Ondo State, the hard value to governance in Ondo State this time around.
The certificate of return for the 26 newly elected lawmakers in Ondo State is already in the bag, and keeping focused on quality representation to their people is also paramount. Of course, on the sidelines, the race for who becomes what in the 10th Assembly intensifies. Sahid Aribisala, Osrc News.
Meanwhile, the Pan-Yoruba organization Afenifere has dismissed claims of rubbishing Bola Tinubu's election, maintaining that the group recognizes the former Lagos State governor as the president-elect. Afenifere leader Reuben Fashoranti said the statement is being issued because of the content of a document alleging that the results of the lawful votes at the presidential election available to the Afenifere through credible sources confirm that Peter Obi, the presidential candidate of the Labour Party, won the said election. Fashion maintained that Afenifere could not have made the assertion given that no other person or body can declare the results of an election other than INEC, which is duly authorized by the Constitution and other extant laws of the land. According to him, Afenifere does not have the power to convene and take such far-reaching decision, just as the whims of individuals. He added that Tinubu is a focused, highly disciplined person who is very adept in organization and in administering people, and based on his antecedent, Nigeria will breathe a new lease of life. In the meantime, the Supreme Court has dismissed an appeal by a former Minister of State for Education, Chukwuemeka Nwajoba, seeking to disqualify Bola Tinubu of the All Progressives Congress APC and Atiku Abubakar of the People's Democratic Party PDP as presidential candidates of their political parties. The Apex Court dropped the suit on the ground that it was statute barred. While dismissing the appeal, a 5-man panel led by Justice Iyan Gokoro did not award cost against the former minister for withdrawing his case when informed that the case was filed outside the time prescribed by law. Nwajoba and a civil group are challenging Tinubu's nomination on the ground that he did not disclose the source of his 100 million naira, which he paid to obtain the nomination and expression of interest form in contravention of Section 90, subsection 3 of the Electoral Act 2022, and that the APC also did not comply with the federal character principle in the composition of the National Working Committee. He had asked the Supreme Court to cancel the processes that produced Tinubu and Atiku as candidates of their political parties. Staying with politics, the Labour Party LP says it is not part of any insurrection plan. But in a reaction to the development, the Labour Party, through its spokesman Yunusa Tanko, said the party is not plotting any insurrection, describing the development as a conspiracy against the state. He said the party will protect the interests of Nigerian people based on the provisions of the law and follow the rules and laws of democratic setting. The Department of State Services, DSS, had raised an alarm over a plot to scuttle the democratic process and install an interim government. Still taking reaction on the purported plan to install an interim government, a former president of the Nigerian Bar Association, NBA, Olisa Agbakoba, had said that there is no constitutional provision for an interim government in Nigeria. The senior advocate of Nigeria, SAN, suggested that those behind the plot to install an interim government must be handed the gravest possible consequences for their treasonable intent. The senior lawyer said though the general election might have been held under the most challenging circumstance, still a president-elect has emerged and must be respected and accepted. The SAN called on all Nigerians to reject the alleged move, adding that citizens must respect the nation's constitution, which has no provision for interim arrangements. He urged Nigerians to turn to the courts to render a decision on the petitions before them, adding that the judicial process will carry a huge responsibility in the process of democratic consolidation. Now away from politics, the need for women to embrace information and communications technology and life-enhancing skills to develop themselves has been stressed. A wife of Ondo State Governor Betty Anyanwa Kerodolu made this clear during the grand finale of the 2023 International Women's Day held in Akure, the Ondo State capital. Government House correspondent Omoriola Ugbenji reports that the theme for the 2023 International Women's Day is Digital, Innovation and Technology for Gender Equality. You're watching the news at 7, coming to you live from OSRC television. We'll go on a break now. When we return, we'll serve you more stories. Please stay with us. Thank you for rejoining us. You can also watch us live on our website www.osrc.ng or follow us on our Facebook page OSRC TV and OSRC Ondo, and on YouTube you can subscribe to our channel OSRC TV Ondo. Now to the rest of the news. The official partner of the Ondo State Government on Waste and Environmental Management, ZL Global Alliance, has joined the rest of the world in commemorating the maiden edition of the International Day of Zero Waste across the globe. The team went on a sensitization tour to major streets and markets in Accra metropolis to sensitize residents on proper waste management. Joy Pius, who monitored the activity, now reports.
According to the United Nations, over 2 billion tons of municipal wastes are generated annually, with only 55% of it being disposed of in managed facilities. This worrisome trend prompted the UN to pronounce 30th of March every year as International Day of Zero Waste to address waste disposal across the world. The day provides an opportunity to raise awareness about the negative impacts of waste on the environment and to encourage people to adopt practices that minimize waste, reuse and recycle materials, and reduce the amount of waste generated. Commemorating the inaugural International Day is a major private sector participant in Ondo State, ZL Global Alliance, as its workers combed major streets and markets in Accra, the Ondo State capital, propagating the need for an environment devoid of waste. The Managing Director, ZL Global Alliance, Mrs. Abiola Basharun, represented by the Deputy Managing Director, Toby Benjamin, emphasized the need for a clean and safe environment, hence the reason for the exercise.
This is an initiative of the UN, but as ambassadors of waste management, which we are, and considering that we have our presence in major states around Nigeria and around the world, and that's why we are out in partnership with UN to ensure that we uphold this day, we celebrate this day, we preach the gospel that we're preaching right now. We are saying no to dumping of waste on media separators. We're saying no to indiscriminate dumping, which is something that is synonymous with most of our societies in Nigeria. And that's why UN has deemed it fit that we set out and discourage this idea.
To ensure the message is well understood by the residents, the team interacted with them in various languages, at the same time retrieving wastes. Residents commended the move, stating that it will assist in curbing the menace of improper waste disposal from the environment.
Something they okay well. But I really appreciate them because some people will say they never tell them before, they never know anything what they do. As for me now, myself I go adjust. As
people are going here and there trying to sensitize people on that, it's good. It's good. At least people will have it will stick in people's hearts that okay, let's try to do the right thing by helping people that are responsible for it, by helping them in doing that.
International Day of Zero Waste aims at promoting the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development by advancing Sustainable Development Goals 11 and 12, which aims at making cities and communities more sustainable, promote responsible consumption and production, empower individuals, communities, and organizations to take action towards creating a more sustainable and waste-free world. Joy Pius, OSRC News.
The federal government has blamed the ongoing deforestation in the country on powerful interests at the subnational who protect loggers in the business of charcoal production. The Minister of Environment, Mohammed Abdullahi, apportioned the blame today during the 69th weekly ministerial briefing at the State House of Abuja. Abdullahi said the task force set up to apprehend the protracted menace of tree felling for charcoal have faced difficulties in enforcement, disclosing that they constantly experience a pushback at the subnational level on the grounds that the trees belong to the states. The Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Farouk Yahaya, is set to meet with general officers commanding, field commanders, and other senior officers in the service. The meeting, which will hold at the scheduled conference between April 3 and 6, would review strategies being adopted at the various theaters of operation. A statement by the Director, Army Public Relations Officer, Brigadier General Onyema Nwachukwu, said far-reaching decisions that would enable the service address multifaceted security challenges confronting the nation would be discussed. Moving on to Lagos State, where the state government has arraigned Chrisland School Limited and some of its staff members over the death of a 12-year-old student, Whitney Omodesola Adeniro, who died during the school's inter-house sport on the 9th of February 2023. They were all arraigned before Justice Oyindamola Ogala of the Lagos High Court, Ikeja, on a 2-count charge of involuntary manslaughter and acting in a reckless and negligent manner that endangered her life. In her ruling, Justice Oyindamola Ogala granted the principal and vice principal of Chrisland School, Mrs. Belinda Amao, and Nwatu Ugochi Victoria bail in the sum of 20 million naira each, with 2 sureties in the sum of 10 million naira each. The other 2 defendants were granted bail in the sum of 10 million naira each, with 2 sureties in like sum pending the hearing and determination of the charge against them. The court also ruled that the sureties must be residents within the jurisdiction of the court, and their financial status and address must be credible and verifiable. All defendants must also provide evidence of payment of tax for the last 3 years, as well as deposit their international passport with their registrar of the court. Parties in the matter also agree that the trial will continue after the Easter holidays, and the court adjourned till May 25, June 1, 8, and 15 for the commencement of trial. Moving on to the foreign scene, the United Nations General Assembly has adopted a resolution proposed by the South Pacific nation of Vanuatu to seek an opinion from the International Court of Justice, ICJ, on what legal obligation nations are under to protect climate systems and people affected by climate change. Co-sponsored by 132 countries, the UN resolution was adopted by a consensus. The court's opinion will be non-binding, but could help in future climate negotiations and lawsuits. Odoyo Sawyer reports.
A historic decision that campaigners say is a major step forward for climate justice.
It is so decided.
No vote was needed. The General Assembly deciding by consensus to ask the world's highest court, the International Court of Justice, to determine what obligations countries have for the climate change they have caused.
Festering climate injustice feeds divisions and threatens to paralyze global climate action. So, Excellencies, for those on the front lines already paying the price for global heating they did nothing to cause, climate justice is both a vital recognition and a tool. Recognition that all people on our planet are of equal worth, and a tool to build resilience against spiraling climate impacts.
The efforts to negotiate this treaty were led by the Pacific island of Vanuatu.
I'm a very, very happy person because I can assure my kids and the kids around the world that the leaders of the countries of this global community are actually listening to the plight of the future of mankind.
The small island of Vanuatu suffered a devastating cyclone earlier this year, highlighting this fact that it is a country that its whole existence is threatened by climate change. The original idea came from law students studying here at the University of the South Pacific. One of them was Cynthia Oanihi.
It's surreal. I still can't believe that we've gotten this far, and it's a testament to a lot of the determination that youths have. It's a testament to when youths are moved by genuine concern, not only for their future, but the future of our generations yet to come.
At the end of the meeting, the UN Secretary General said it was a big victory, but UN insiders say even though this resolution passed by consensus, there are some major countries which have a problem with it and expect some national submissions to the International Court of Justice in an effort to narrow the eventual ruling of the judges. Odunayo Sawyer, OSRC News.
Taking sports stories now, Sunshine Stars Football Club and Doma United have shared the spoils at the Ondo State Sports Complex in Akure after a 1-1 draw in a matchday 11 tie of the Nigeria Premier Football League. Yusuf Ibrahim scored the first goal for Sunshine Stars with a square ball play in the 13th minute before Doma United equalized just almost immediately. Benga Uluwajano now reports.
After a hard-fought draw away to Wiki Tourist in Bauchi, Sunshine Stars hosted Duma United Football Club of Gombe in continuation of the Nigerian Premier Football League. Sunshine Stars wasted no time settling in the first half as Yusuf Ibrahim scored the opening goal in the 13th minute of the encounter. In less than a minute of play, after Sunshine Stars scored, Duma United equalized through a low cross from the left wing, leaving home fans dazed. The match continued with clear-cut chances missed by Sunshine Stars in the second half of the game, which finished all square. Head coach of Sunshine Stars, Eddie Tagoye, said fatigue was a major factor that affected the performance of the boys after a long journey to Bauchi. He called for calm and assured supporters that the team will come out better in their next match.
Definitely fatigue was a factor in the game. It was a good one. We had the advantage by scoring. But unfortunately, we allowed them to come back into the game straight away. That was the turning point. And we push and push. We got chances we couldn't convert. But we have to commend the effort of the boys today. We didn't take it today. We did double our effort and look forward to the next game.
Head coach of Duma United, Akiade Onigbide, said he was happy with the performance of his boys after grabbing a point away from Gombe.
So they drew us in our home. So come down here now. It's not a bad one.
Sunshine Stars are now 5th on the MPFL log with 17 points. Benga Oluwajano, OSRC News.
And Indonesian football players, fans and pundits have reacted with anger and sadness after FIFA pulled the Under-20 World Cup from the host nation weeks before it was due to kick off, following protests against Israel's participation. The humiliating loss came after two influential governors advocated banning Israel from the competition. Indonesia and Israel do not have formal diplomatic relations, and support for the Palestinian cause runs high, fueling local opposition to hosting the Israeli team. FIFA's decision to find a new host, thereby nixing Indonesia's automatic qualifying spot, puts the country's most popular sport back in the doldrums and facing another bout of isolation as it recovers from a stadium stampede that killed 135 people last year. President Joko Widodo said he was disappointed and saddened by the decision, but said Indonesia had to respect it. To round off the news at 7, here again are the major stories. 26 lawmakers elect in the March 18 Assembly election in Ondo State have received their certificates of return. Governor Oluwarotimi Akeredolu at the event tasked the new House of Assembly members to prioritize the development of the state in line with the government's redeemed agenda. We also told you that wife of Ondo State Governor, Mrs. Betty Anyanwu Akeredolu, has challenged women on self-development. She spoke at the grand finale of this year's International Women's Day held in Akure, the Ondo State capital. The federal government has accused powerful interests in the ongoing deforestation across the country. And from the foreign scene, we told you that the United Nations General Assembly has adopted a resolution proposing to seek an opinion from the International Court of Justice, ICJ, on what legal obligation nations are under to protect climate systems and people affected by climate change. And that does it on the news at 7. Thank you for being a part of it. Good evening.